So why is our mouth important? It is where the words come out of, right? It is where dialogue essentially is born. But in terms of acting and animation, the mouth is only the second place that we look at after the eyes during a performance. We're looking at the mouth because it is the second supporting place on the face for expression and emotion, right? Your eyes can tell me a lot. In fact, your eyes tell me a nice big picture of what's happening. Remember, the eyes usually tell the truth, but then the mouth either supports or contradicts those eyes. So I can look at you with the same eyes and smile or frown, right, and do different stuff in there, and that changes the context of what is happening. Mouth also supports the overall shape of your face, right? We can turn the mouth to be very angular, much towards like the closed eye and a face, and we can get some nice sort of squashy expressions in our characters. Lastly, the actual purpose of delivering the line, right, where the mouth can do, as we were saying earlier, supporting the eyes, being completely genuine, right? Contradicting the eyes, meaning saying something that is basically a lie, whereas the eyes would most likely tell us the truth. And then squashing and stretching to give us nice fleshy effect in our dialogue and animation. So let's take a look at this TikToker. She's very good at acting through her mouth, and she does a series of these videos where she impersonates celebrities.
Oh, I've no idea. Wow. Wow. Oh, please, Dad. You've got to be kidding. You're a Spider-Man? I'm not Josie Grossi anymore. But I saw her for what she really was. A freak. What you on about? I really cared about you. Yeah.
I really love this. I think it's really great. It's crazy that we don't notice this about a person because it is their overarching image, right? You see a person and you're like, oh, that's just how, Jocelyn talks. I'm not concerned about it. But if someone were to try and emulate Jocelyn, right, and do a good job of it, all of a sudden you're starting to see what the pieces are at play that make someone sound like someone else. The mouth is a big deal because the way we talk is very personal to us, and it's very personal to each character, exactly how the mouth moves, how far it opens, what the performance is coming out of it. In particular, the amount of teeth that we show tells us a lot about a character as well. You'll notice that some characters show a lot of teeth, right? They speak like, oh no, or like this. But then you got like Luke Wilson, who's very like, oh yeah. He doesn't show like any teeth. His mouth is pursed. And these are all choices that perhaps the actor isn't making on purpose, but she is to try and emulate that performance.
I've no idea.
Love Keira Knightley, just that, like she's keeps her teeth out for long periods at a time as she acts. It's kind of like, what is that? Right, rather than being like, what is that? Very specific acting choices and very interesting to see them at play.
Wow.
There's Luke with the pursed mouth. Just goes to show that there is so much variety that we can employ that isn't just let me pull the controls to make a character speak, but rather let me pull these controls in anatomically accurate ways that lend themselves specifically to the character at play. Crazy to see the amount of range that not only she has as an actress, but the range that a mouth can achieve in order to do something different. And it's all through very small points on your mouth, right? It's all through like how you lift these points right here, like your sneers, right? How much you speak through your teeth, how much you're actually opening up the rest of your mouth, unfurling your lips. So many choices that when the deeper you go, the more overwhelming it can feel to be like, okay, I have all these controls. Like, should I be using these now? Should I not be using them? And this all comes with time and understanding the character that you're animating and understanding what a performance needs from the mouth. So I think you get the point. Let's look at some, I think, excellent mouth acting in animation. Specifically, what I want you guys to look at is how the mouth is influencing who these characters are. We're going to be seeing a variety of characters, but take a look at exactly how their mouth is animated, how little or how much is done to it to express who this character is. So some really great stuff there in terms of mouth choices. Specifically, I want to look at each character one at a time as we talk through this, right? We start with seeing that we have our Princess Merida and her two parents, right? The king of Scotland, I guess. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. I just know he's the king, she's the queen, right? Merida's like the princess. You'll notice that whenever the king or the queen speak, it's very different tones. King is very bombastic. He's very just like big and loud, right? We see that through this big mouth and large crooked teeth that we're always trying to show. It's always like, ah, ah, ah. He's always kind of talking like that, right? Like doing this big thing. Queen, she, if you've seen the movie, is quite the opposite. She's very regal. She's very like motherly. She's very like, no, absolutely not. Right? She's doing all this. Her mouth is small. It's usually pursed, not showing nearly as many teeth when she speaks. See, even as the king goes through what he's saying, it's just like, even his big smiles are showing a large wealth of those teeth. So we got our first guy over here. Big, strong guy, but he's timid. How do we show that a character is timid? Make their mouth really, really small. If you have a small mouth, it could be implied that you don't talk a lot, right? Hence why we say people have a big mouth when they're blabbers. He shows that timidness exactly that way, by not opening his mouth, really, right? Keeping that mouth always tiny, pursed, even design-wise, it all lends itself well for this guy being who he is. Next, we got pretentious kind of pride guy, right? He kind of goes through two major emotions in this, but usually his mouth is kind of like pursed small in kind of like that contempt face, right? Of being pursed and thinking he's superior to everyone, to then having a huge mouth when he screams out in defeat. That big change in there is supposed to imply that facetiousness of like who he actually is the large mouth, right? He's a big mouth. He talks a lot. He talks a big game. But when he's trying to hide it, he's pursing it all in. He's like, yeah, I'm not that guy, I'm this guy, right? So I really wish these characters had been in the movie more, because I love this whole sequence here. And then, of course, we got the wee lamb, as Merida says. Dopey. How do we know he's dopey? You know, everything about his eyes is telling us he's dopey, but also his mouth is agape. He just has an open mouth, showing his teeth, kind of having that donkey face, right? Of being sort of donkey brained. It's instant. We know exactly who this guy is. We don't even need to see him just like strumming the bow like a moron, right? We know exactly who he is because his mouth is agape. That usually shows a sign that, you know, not all the lights are working upstairs at any given moment. Merida, of course, is somewhat of an in-between, right? She has a nice appealing face. She has a nice appealing mouth of her mother, but because she's a little more gruff than her mother, right? She's a little more rough around the edges. That's who the character is. She shows a lot more teeth than her mother shows, kind of taken after her father, if you will. These are all very conscious choices that character designers and animators are making when animating them. Again, even when this guy messes up, you'll notice that his mouth doesn't go, ah! He just goes, ah, right? Just a little, because he's shy, he's timid. His mouth isn't gonna open more than that. Merida, you know, going through nice appealing shapes, but showing teeth, right? That's one of the big things about her. Him, we've discussed, shows his teeth a lot. He's got a nice big mouth, pursed mouth for being pretentious, right? Very small, misses the target, huge mouth as he goes in there and screams out in defeat. Character choices, right? Mouth goes from small to big because they want to show that this guy is facetious. Then we have dopey guy, as per usually, mouth open, but always teeth out. Whether his mouth is closed or open, he's always got that expression of teeth out that show us that he's extremely dopey. All throughout this, we are seeing constant reminders of who these characters are through their facial performance. King moves his mouth a lot. It's a big mouth. He's like, there's a lot of rotation in there. There's a lot of teeth showing at any given moment. Queen, on the other hand, when we see her come up here, and she's going, don't lose another arrow, right? She's doing that whole spiel. Her mouth doesn't move more than it needs to. Notice how soft the movements are of that. It's just like, Merida, don't do that, right? Because she's trying to keep it together. She's supposed to be the face of the royal relationship, right? She's supposed to be regal. Regal people don't show their teeth. Showing your teeth is a sign of being almost, I want to say, animalistic, almost being, you know, very rough and wild. Whereas keeping your teeth in is a very human choice of trying to not express that animalistic side. So lots of layers to dissect in performances like this, especially when you're trying to find a character and trying to find how that character acts.